Call this meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do roll call. Mr. Warner. Ms. Rupp.
Here.
Meyerholtz.
Yep.
Souser.
Here.
Mrs. Patel.
Here.
Ms. Kukowski.
Here.
Has everybody had a chance? Or should anybody have anything to add to the agenda or move anything around? Okay. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes. Last meeting. We just need a motion to mark as emailed, I guess.
So
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, old business. Approval of a 2026 estimated revenue. That would be in, that the PDF file?
Yep.
Or it's a budgetary?
Nothing changed from the last meeting, so we just discussed it in a little more detail in administrative process, but nothing changed.
Anybody else have anything to discuss on that one? If not, we just need a motion to accept the estimated revenue.
So moved.
We have a first, do we have a second? Jessica's second. Roll call. Mr. Warner,
yes.
Ms. Rupp,
Yes.
Mr. Meyerholtz,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Kukowski. Okay. For me, the mayor thing, let me get back up thing. I don't have too much, but I want to bring it up to the attention to council. And I went out to the township meeting for my personal thing for the fire department Monday. And on their docket was, or on the agenda was a lot of things concerning the EMS still. I had a long conversation with them. Some did see eye to eye, but I see where they're coming from on some things. And so I need to see if we can bring to committee the possibility of adding or taking care of some of the utilities out there. And it will be explained through the committee when that comes, but I don't know if it should go to administrative process or it should come to safety. That's your guys' call, but it's going to have to go to both for discussion.
Probably should go to safety first.
Make the contract for it and then administrative.
Contract would probably go through administrative process, but the discussion,
Yeah.
I think.
That
It's
sounds
nothing
like the
bad.
right route.
It's nothing bad. It's just their services for EMS. There's no concern about that. It's other things. So
What's all the concerns?
utilities, and it's
Mm.
it's justifiable if you look at it in the way that I made him look at it a little bit. So
Yeah.
we just don't know the logistics of it yet, but I told him we'd bring it up and we'd have a conversation. So
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation.
that's fine.
I was gonna say, I'm good with it going to safety to get the logistics of it and then let us know.
Do we invite?
I'm surprised they didn't bring it up when it was out there.
This has been brewing, I guess. So
Well, but I mean,
Yeah.
if nobody knows about what they're thinking, why?
well, this was, like I said, this was a conversation that, because I went in there to do my thing for the fire department, and then I wanted to get out of there, and I was like, so what's the deal with the rest of the stuff that's on the agenda for EMS? And they had a conversation with it, and we didn't see eye to eye, and after we left, we saw eye to eye a little bit. So, like I said, I don't want to get too in depth right now, because I don't want to carry this conversation on here, so,
Do you think we should invite them to the safety meeting?
no, not.
No, absolutely not.
No, this is a conversation for us to make sure everybody here is on the same page,
Okay.
so we can go back.
I have this strange feeling that, they don't pay income tax. We don't pay our taxes.
I straighten that portion out. If you,
Really?
oh yeah, if you don't, like I said, we'll continue this conversation at safety, okay? So that portion has been taken care of, so. Other than that, I'm gonna touch base on this. There was conversation on the cell phone use, administrative process, and also got brought up to council last meeting. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we are under the impression that this is a public building. We use our stuff for our personal things, personal notes or whatever else. I would ask you guys to respectfully, respect the council hall. Obviously, the audience, if they became a nuisance or distraction, we're gonna ask them to step out to take care of the problem. Other than that, there's nothing on record for us as far as usage, okay? So that's all I have. Then we gotta go to fiscal officer.
Most of the stuff is kind of some of the other agenda topics, so I won't get to those yet. The one thing that I did forget to put in my report, if you all saw in the folder, the letter from the sheriff's office with the rate increase. I already prepared for it, so each year we've been building 10% into the increase, so we are good. We don't have to amend anything, but just something to keep on the radar as we
I
get the increase.
Go up 10%. I
No,
did the quick math.
No.
Yeah, I did.
no, it's usually around
20.
3, but we never know. So based on like some of the previous years, the averages equal out to be about 15, which sounded really high. So I just did 10 and it worked. So,
Say it because it wasn't.
I
yeah,
mean, besides the annual increase, I think there was one year they increased it by a lot because of.
that's probably what's messing up that average is that one year that was
It
crazy.
wasn't
We
because
don't
they-
know if
they
that'll
had their-
happen
They had
again.
their contract renewals and everything else and we took the hit on that one, so.
But yeah, I believe the annual with the new rate, obviously we're halfway through the year, but if that was done at the beginning of the year, it would have been about 102,000 a year for their 160 hours a month that they provide.
And I think.
40 a week,
Yeah,
that they patrol.
I think it went up, somewhere around $320.
And then, I think most of the stuff's gonna be hit in, administrative process, but one thing that isn't in there, I know the last meeting we had, it was brought up about a safety grant opening in July, and I thought I heard it referred to as OSHA. But, cause we're local or state and local don't, or federal OSHA don't apply to state and local government. And I couldn't find the grant, probably because we're government and it's not for us. But I do know that the workman's comp, one that we are eligible for still says the same thing on their website. They're still closed, not accepting, applications. So nothing's been updated on that one. I think the rest is for the other stuff.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for her? Not, we're gonna go to administrative. Let's go to Administrator Harold.
You got the manhole cover fixed on Main Street. Fixed the catch basin over there on Ash and Ohio Street. That one, the pictures are in the folder, they're on my report. It was fixed by using a 4-inch pipe. That's why it was not working properly. So that was a fun one to fix, but it's fixed. The only thing I gotta do now is just have Cam to come back out and jet it, since I got it cleared to where it's broke out, where it was broke down at. So they're gonna come out and get that jetted probably this week. Once I figure out how much it costs us to have them do that to begin with. So
When I looked at that, Harold, is there an outlet on that somewhere?
There's 3 lines that come into it.
There was 3? Okay,
One comes.
the lid
across-
was on,
One,
partially on.
yeah, one comes across the road or comes across from that side of the road. And then the other one goes down a house street, and then there's one that comes in at an angle from. I'm not really exactly sure. It looks like it comes out of the yard somewhere.
Hmm.
That goes into it, but that one is that third one is up higher and it was plugged up, so it probably isn't even being used.
Right.
But the other 2 the one that I fixed and the other one that was down at the bottom, they were the main ones, and I'm sure that probably runs down and goes behind down Ash Street in the back, so once I get that cleared out, it should flow right out to Center Street.
that may help some of those people on Ash Street that's having issues.
Yeah,
That's why I was wondering whether or not if there was another feed in there.
yeah, it's coming from the west side of Ash Street is where that one comes
So the one that you fixed is the one that drains it.
out to Center Street, yeah. Yeah. They fixed it with a 4-inch tile.
Oh, I saw what it was.
Nice.
It wasn't a very good fix. I mean,
No.
all the dirt and everything had to go in around it, so.
It was not fixed properly, so I fixed it as well as I could and it should hold up.
Do you use solid PVC on it?
No, we had a piece of corrugated 8-inch
Oh,
PVC out there that I,
You bought bands for it, so put bands around it.
I had a band and I didn't have to go to Harrisburg Pipe and buy anything. I had everything right out there, so I just grabbed what I needed and fixed it and put it all back together. So now I gotta let it settle and then throw some more dirt on it in a couple weeks and
are you gonna jet the other lines also coming to it?
I can, yeah. When
I just wondered. if-
Yeah, I can have them do that when they show up, because they'll just come with the small jetter. And do it, do it with the truck and the jetter. So they won't be bringing a big truck for that, so
Cause I imagine that has to go to another catch basin somewhere.
somewhere, yeah.
Nice to know where it goes.
If I was a betting man, I think the catch basin that one goes to is sitting on Ohio Street in someone's driveway.
Or,
And I say that is because we had back when we had the fire department had a severe gas leak over there. It's coming out of that manhole, that catch basin area there. We had Northwest Water out there plus Suburban, and it was not sanitary sewer, it was stormwater.
Storm, man.
And then when they did that also could be an issue too, is when they did that line,
right,
make sure they didn't cut it.
right.
People have been prone to do.
It's been known to happen.
So I see your report and I see that you put the pictures in. That's a good thing, visual for everybody. So thank you for that.
Well, I should say Stephanie put them in there for me because I haven't quite figured that out yet, but
Well, the little help you can get there, but you took the pictures at least.
Yeah, take the pictures. I can't take credit for that.
So that,
I sent them to her.
I didn't look at them in there. What are they, selfies?
Yeah.
I did. I thought we were gonna just put them all in the folder and I was like, you know what? He has a report. They probably just work better plugging them in there. I mean, they'll this big on the page, so I have to shrink them, but I think it worked out.
Yeah.
anything else, Harold?
No.
Anybody else got anything for Harold?
Residents worried about pets being left outside.
Yeah. It's
Is it one or several?
3 or 4.
So what day is it supposed to be 90 this week, Wednesday? I have a social media post scheduled to go out that is going to be sharing a post from the Humane Society, I believe, that kind of, I forgot what it was already, but it was about, it's just some education. And I'm going to add in there, the cruelty officer and the Humane Society, they don't want people taking the matter into their own hands, which I think happened. So we're gonna try and get the word out to just report it, not take it into your own hands, so.
That's what we paid the taxes for them. But they get their funding for it. Turn it in and let them handle it. And be diligent and be repetitive.
I know there's one on Center. And I actually made arrangements to check on her dog for her. So I know a lot of people have been really worried about that one, but
You know, I got a phone call last week in the little trailer court area, the one with like 5 of them. They were leaving their dog, 2 dogs out there with no shelter, no water, no nothing.
well, and if they knock the water over, and you can't control.
But the Humane Society guy also did say that they will not take somebody's animal if it is left outside during the day only. If people are neglecting their animal and leaving it outside and letting it starve to death, then they will come take the animal. But other than that, they will just go and talk to the people and tell them that they need to do something with their animal as far as giving it wider.
Education, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all, and that's what the dude told me, that's all they can do. They said unless that dog looks like it's dying, they're not gonna do nothing with it. So, I mean, people can call them up and complain all they want, but all they're gonna do is go talk to them and tell the people that they need to do something with the animal.
Mhm.
So it's unfortunate that people are that way, but that's just,
It's common sense
yeah,
if you have a pet.
especially if it's 100, I mean, it really wasn't hot when that situation happened, but it was still warm in the house where the dog should have been somewhere where it's shaded or in the house, because there was no reason, especially if you're sitting in your house in the air conditioning, there's no reason why your animal shouldn't be sitting in the house air conditioning. So that's the way I see that, but.
Okay, we're gonna go to zoning. Ed's not here, so I'll read the report. I'm not gonna answer no questions. Just throwing that out there because I have questions, but I'll read the report. Report from today. On June 2nd, he received a phone call from a resident at 13364 Main Street regarding letter about grass cutting. June 7th, he received a phone call from 2 different residents concerning letters that were sent. June 13th, 5 properties have branches in the boulevard. 2 properties need grass cut. 1 property has a vanity and mirror in the boulevard. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say, because I'm not taking the questions, so, because I also have questions, but
Are there some I might be able to answer?
maybe.
Maybe. We
What's the
can
deal,
try.
what's the deal with all of them?
Um,
Referring to like the residents, there was something wrong with the residents getting the letter?
yeah, the Main Street one, I think that one had like paths, if that's the right one, it had paths cut through, so a letter went out about the rest of it.
Okay.
I don't remember what the response was. Ken handled that one. But I think it's been taken care of, if I remember right on the note. The one on the 7th, it depends on the address. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know. And then, branches, quite a few people have started putting branches out for some reason, so we're sending out letters as a reminder, that brush pickup is twice a year in the spring and in the fall. Letting them know when the next one is and that they need to remove them from the right of way based on the ordinance, so they get a copy of all that. And then obviously the grass cut ones, I think they are the typical nuisance ones, if I remember right. And then the vanity and mirrors, junk in the boulevard. They have 7 days to remove it, and then if not, they get a follow-up for 14 days.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Committees, Park and Rec from 6-4. I don't see one in here, so,
No, I don't, neither of them are here
okay,
to report on it.
Yeah,
I have my personal notes.
that's all right. We'll worry about Park and Rec when they come out, and they can't complain if they're not here.
I think Doug's getting his knee done and
Ron's in.
Ron's in New Hampshire.
That's fine.
What are we doing about the cup situation then? They are paying for it.
Yeah. Oh, that is one thing I guess we could report on, is that they have agreed to pay for it in full out of their fund. They've been ordered and everything's there. They should be here before I am out of the office, so. Okay.
Has anybody determined how many of the Dora signs you need?
I think the application had 10.
10.
Mhm.
And do you know where you're getting them yet? or what? Are they gonna be portable enough to? put up and-
Nope, I think something, probably, what, would this come from community development to kind of finalize some more? Is your meeting tomorrow?
Yep.
So that works, yeah.
On our agenda.
Okay, cemetery from 6-5.
Okay, I just, Stephanie.
I think it should be in the folder.
Okay, so this is from May's meeting. Roll call was Diane, Dawn, Robin, Jody, Harold, and myself. Meetings were approved from the April meeting. Harold report, working on foundations. Jody's getting a couple of the questions answered. It was mentioned that if grass isn't growing well on the recent burial sites due to sand, to add some good soil and plant grass seed again. The hours of part-time employees was discussed, increased last year from 800 to 1,000 hours due to the running out of hours. Board thought this increase would remain this year. Only 800 budgeted again this year. Waiting to see where we are closer to the end of the summer if needed to increase. And going ahead and budget 1,000 hours for 2016. The council liaison was discussed again. Diane made a motion, Dawn second the motion to leave as is, and the liaison will take our approvals, approved previous meeting minutes to the following council meeting for council updates. All in favor, motion passed. Old business, Jody indicated that America 250 grant was denied. Still working on the gun finalization. Memorial Day ceremony plan are falling into place. Need to have a list of to-do items for the cleanup day. Stump removal was discussed. Robin made a motion to only remove the stump next to the entrance soldier mound. Dawn second the motion, all in favor. It passed. New business issue with cremains being scattered, buried without notification to the cemetery was discussed, and possible solutions. Also discussed the possibility of, I don't even know how to say that word.
Columbarium.
Yes, thank you. Becoming more prevalent in how to price configurations would be determined and enforced. The spool marker was discussed, and it was determined to wait to proceed until hearing from the solicitor and fiscal officer for the official opinion. The Richmond Foundation was discussed, as there isn't room for the monument and burial to be between Molly, Kale, the Kale family, the Kale monument. We'll discuss options with Cindy. The limbs that recently fell on the pine tree located between C and C extension at the north end was discussed. The remaining limbs on the south side of the tree would do extensive damage if it falls. Harold will get a quote from Roe to have the limbs removed versus removal of the tree. And the meeting was adjourned. But when she sent me those minutes, she did want me to add some highlights from this last meeting. Harold discussed equipment in need of a repair. Memorial Day went well, and they would like to do it again. The spool marker was discussed excessively, as it is a violation of the rules And as far as the compensation of the marker, foundations will hopefully be poured next week, and there will be discussion on what we need to do to get them poured in the future before Memorial Day. Revenue is down, grant available. Jody will contact the grant writer about applying. Multiple issues with children, driving golf carts, stealing flowers, and someone driving through the extension with a car. We're discussing how to handle, planning on reevaluating the rules to better clarify the marker memorial section. And discuss issues to further for the future and better addressed now and be proactive other than odds and ends. And that's it.
What's the issue with the cremains?
The what?
The cremains, what's their issue?
Oh, so during that meeting, people would just scatter the cremains, especially when it's windy. So it's like, is that right, Harold?
They've been doing it a while.
Yeah. So they were trying to think of different ways that they could like possibly make like a garden at one point instead of just letting them free flow everywhere.
Well, there's nothing that hurts it.
Yeah,
But they
no, what
might
is the
build up.
problem with
I know,
them?
that's, I get.
It's
Yeah.
not to code
Is it human remains?
and it's not,
It says you can do it
Yeah,
anywhere you
we-
want. It's,
You can do it in a park.
purified, it's whatever, you can put them wherever you want.
and
That's
it's,
been like that for years.
We spread them.
they don't always scatter them. And they're not all ash.
No,
So
Stuff's not.
you may have a few bone fragments, but they've been heated to the point that there's nothing wrong with them.
but when you're walking through the park and you come up, that's why they're talking about having an area, and that's what they're, I don't know the word either.
Yeah, but
Special name. It's an area, many cemeteries have put them in as, like, they've got benches, flowers, you can dump them there. It's a safe place to dump them. And some places even have, like, you can get a marker. And then you can come back and visit and it's got the name of the person. So they've been, I want to say for a year and a half, maybe, looking at different cemeteries
I
and
think Custer
looking
has
at,
one.
This
Yeah.
past meeting, the columbarium is a little bit further than a memorial garden. It's an actual building where you can have just like a place to store your urn.
Mm,
They're very popular in the, like Japan and the Asian
Mhm.
population because they don't have a lot of storage there for bodies. So like everything is cremated. But they went to couple different cemeteries that had places like that where you could store the actual urn itself. And it's just like a square this big enough for the urn in a picture.
Because they're looking for future and, unfortunately, probably starting my generation, burials are gonna not exist as well.
Didn't start in your generation, it started with mine.
yeah, they're much
I
more.
was in that business and I'd just as soon be cremated than buried.
The spoil, memorial or thing. It's not,
pretty, but
it's
not
pretty.
so.
It's all iron. So
Mhm.
it's not even like marble or stone or anything. And they're just fearing like some kids are gonna be in there and get hung up. I mean, it's pretty, it's big, like, but there's a lot of,
Doesn't that kind of stuff have to go through the cemetery before
Well-
it gets put up there? I mean,
It's-
from when I was understood, they did have when I was understanding was she did come in, ask,
About a boulder,
About a boulder.
I was gonna say, there were lots of discussions about a folder.
and the cemetery board was in the understanding that it was gonna be a boulder that was gonna be put out there. So that's why, the foundation is like a little bigger, but, over on a weekend, that thing popped up and it was there. Nobody ever said anything about it. They just like, it just showed up.
I wondered, because it was around, it was Memorial Day that I noticed that we were driving through for our stuff, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that
That's-
was,
And when it's windy, it actually goes back and forth.
I think that was back in March. When it was put in.
Yeah.
Really? It's been there all this.
Yeah, as I think Jody asked me to send the information to Paul. I think it was in April.
Mm.
All right, so we're gonna leave that back up to the cemetery, so,
That's all I have for that.
okay. Now we had an administrative process from 6/12.
Okay, in attendance, Jessica Sousa, Craig Warner, Rick Easterwood, Stephanie Montz. We approved previous meeting minutes, reviewed the 2026 estimated revenue. Quotes for dash cams, village hall cleaning, village hall and post office inspections, and Ash Street extension were all discussed. Front and rear dash cams were found on Amazon for $129.99. And it is recommended, well, we've already voted to get them with the grant, the PEP safety grant. So we are proceeding with 7 dash cams through the PEP safety grant. No responses yet for village hall cleaning. Stephanie will be reaching out for quotes from businesses, awaiting quotes from Harold on the village hall and the post office inspection and Ash Street extension for both stone and asphalt, seeking information on the process of vacating, reviewed the proposed ordinance to ban cell phone use during meetings. We'll be checking in with Paul Scaff for input since there could be concerns about rights and potential consequences. A memo will be going out to all departments, boards, and committees as a reminder about public meeting laws. In Ohio, all public bodies are required to hold open meetings that the public may attend and observe. This is mandated by the Ohio Open Meetings Act, ORC 121-22. The employee handbook needs some updates and cleanup. Stephanie went through it and added notes with suggestions. The committee is going to be reviewing it in sections. The next meeting will cover the introduction through section 2, and then the August meeting will be section 3 and 4, and we'll keep going from there. Christy, our grant writer, might have more flexibility or services within her scope that we could be utilizing, which would really help the village, especially while there aren't many active grant opportunities right now. So Stephanie's going to get a list of services from Christy describing the scope of her work, and then we'll review that further. Craig and Stephanie met with Christy and Brandon from GLCAP to talk about a stormwater strategy. One of the main takeaways was the village need to look beyond just using general fund money to support stormwater efforts. Brandon recommended considering a stormwater utility, which is something a lot of other communities do. The idea would be to see if Northwest Water Sewer District would allow a $5 surge charge on water sewer bills, with that money coming back to the village. This could bring in around $33,000 a year before any potential fees from Northwestern. Stephanie will be drafting a letter to Northwest Water Sewer to see if they're open to partnering with this. If they are not, the village would need to explore other ways to set up and manage the utility on our own. This kind of dedicated revenue would help fund new stormwater projects and maintain existing infrastructure. And it would also help show that the village is contributing its share when applying for outside funding and grants. The village was not awarded ODOT special sidewalk grant. Kleinfelder reached out for an introduction and reviewed some options. A suggestion was ODOT abbreviated safety, which is intended for low-cost, quick-turn projects geared towards vehicle and pedestrian safety. This grant has a 10% local match and covers both design and construction costs. The TAP grant, which we were talking about using for Dollar General sidewalk, safety corridor, was discussed, and this grant actually has a deadline of August 1st instead of September 1st. And the match requirements are all of engineering costs and 20% of construction. That information is going back to Public Works, where that project is still residing. We discussed if we should continue using Kleinfelder for engineering or follow Bob Desmond to DGL Consulting. Bob will be attending the Public Works meeting and will discuss options with Bob at the time for reviewing these options further. Actionable items, recommend approving 2026 estimated revenue. We already did that. And then meeting room to have a sign that says, please silence devices.
We already got a response back from the water district, which was good news. They are willing to help us anyway. They actually do this for quite a few other Wood County entities.
They wanted to meet like immediately.
Oh, yeah. He's like, let's schedule a Zoom meeting this week. I was like, hold on.
I got the email. Stephanie already like been like 3 emails.
Yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. So now the next step is to try and work on a plan on how we want this to go. And I think what we're going to do is pull some other samples from other entities and see how they set this up, because it works differently for everyone. Like I think it was Rossford, they do it based on the size and the type of lot it is. And they also pointed out things like they're not all of the places here have a meter, so they wouldn't be able to bill for that. So there's a lot of discussion points yet. I told him, if he wanted to come, the next administrative process meeting date, but that's kind of the meeting where we will probably have more detailed discussion about putting the idea together and how we want to see it work.
I have to think about that for a while. I don't know that us causing that to happen would be the right thing as much as it would be for the people to vote for it.
At one time, we handled our own water, correct?
Mhm.
So at that time, were we also including in that bill, were we including stormwater?
No,
So we've never included stormwater
never,
charges.
never.
It was never built into it then.
Yeah, this would be
That's why I said-
considered a utility. Yeah.
Because you're
But it was a
establishing-
utility, it was a utility at one time.
Well, there's other ways to do it too.
Yeah, there is other ways to do it, but according to GLCAP, this is our, if this doesn't work for Northwest Water, or we can't come up to an agreement, or we can't develop the funds, we made a step in the right direction to help facilitate funds. And then it should make us easier to go to the next step.
We have to look like we are.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. But
However, if they deny, if we can't pass the levy,
Mhm.
and then we go and then add on a surcharge onto their water bill,
It doesn't look,
and we didn't. So we need to generate income for stormwater one way or another.
correct.
We're either gonna do it through a tax, which may not get voted on, or we're gonna do by having it as a utility, and other communities are doing it as a utility.
I agree that that's a possibility, but I still think that it's up to the taxpayers to determine whether or not they want a utility that they've never had before. All I gotta say, I gotta think about it some more.
yeah, there's a lot of discussion yet to have, so. This is just the first step. Now,
Agree with the size of lots and things like that. I mean, has an effect a lot of different ways.
do we need to take an official vote for the cameras too?
No, we already did. I actually ordered them this morning because I had an alert that they dropped to $89.99. So I was like, order. So they were even cheaper than Yeah.
Those have the cards, SIM card, or like a card in them that
Like a memory.
just rolls over all the time. You know, it records like so
7
many
days or
hours,
something.
you know.
Yeah, it'll have a card. It just, I don't know how big of a storage,
And they're
the videos will be. We'll have to,
They're
there'll be
also
a
Wi-Fi
test,
capable, so.
test phase in it, so.
Yeah, because the one that I have in my car, it'll, once it's full, it just doesn't.
Okay. Now we need to make a motion to do the silence of the silence?
Mhm.
Device silence at the door.
Mhm.
All right. We have a motion for that?
Yeah. Second.
All right, we have a motion for making a sign that says silent the devices at the doors
Or in your vehicle, how's that?
or at the door.
No,
Mr. Rupp,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
my sister,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Miss Kukowski.
No.
Okay, that's 4-2, it still passes.
Another question on the administrative process meeting. Why was the public meeting thing brought up?
Because we had a committee kick out a member of the public.
not kick out.
Nope.
Has to be kicked, has to leave.
That's in my,
Yeah, that's fine.
nonetheless.
The member
um,
of the public wasn't making any noise, wasn't disrupting the
It
meeting.
doesn't, for me, that doesn't matter. I mean, I was told that even if someone is being aggressive and people in the room feel threatened, we can't ask them to leave because that's a First Amendment violation. So
It's
it's.
fine, I'm
just-
asking the question.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, it's just a reminder. So it's gonna go out as a memo to all of the boards, the committees. As a reminder that they took the same oath they have to uphold that we do, and that they are a public meeting as a part of the village, and members of the public have to be allowed to attend and remain according to the Open Meeting Act of ORC. So it's just a reminder.
That memo is put together. I am waiting for Paul to review it, make sure I'm not missing anything in it. Especially when it comes to the law itself, but he's out on vacation till the 19th, I think, so we won't get a response until after that. And then I'll send it out to everybody.
Anything else with that?
For me.
For my next set.
Okay, WF, 6:10.
All right, in attendance, Janetti Zamara, Brian Hunt, Jared Parcell, Rachel Beard, Dennis Sauter, and Brittany Klikowski. They approved the purchase of tables, chairs, chair mounting racks, field equipment, and backstop banners with logo to come out of the current open purchase order 34-2025. They discussed uniforms not to be covered through the village fund and approved the estimated $3,000 to be paid for out of their WSI bank account. Discussed a blanket PO with the intentions of spending down the village fund of $7,398.57. And Luann will follow up with Stephanie on those details. Received a quote of $400 from Harold to move the openings to the ball fields for easier access to the equipment garage. The board decided to put the decision on hold for now. The 501c3 is still in processing. Mark Tolles has recommended changes to paragraph 2.3 of the facilities agreement that we proposed. The edit requests will be forwarded by the board to Stephanie for review either by us or Paul or both. The mower for the drag is in need of repair and Harold has been contacted. There are some questions about line items on that mower. But I think they're gonna reach out to you about that as well. Going to eventually get rid of the team reach and consolidate usage to league lineup for next year. future coaches meetings will be held in the equipment shed. And approve spending $400 on an end of season coaches appreciation party at Porky's Pizza on July 8th at 6 p.m. Youth League tournaments are being held June 27th through the 29th, and Weston will also be hosting an all-star game with the date forthcoming. Approve for actionable items, we need to approve the purchase order for the coaches appreciation of 400. And then it's kind of a question mark for me. I just put it in there. Their blanket PO to spend down the account of $7,358. Is that something council?
So that's how much they have left in general, but they have line items that they have to work out of. I can move money, but
That's what I said. I said, I know we can move.
it would be easier to just
About purchase order.
allow them to continue to spend that down without having to come back again. And let me figure out how and what comes from those line items instead of trying to say, oh, only this much for concessions or this much for equipment, because they still have quite a bit in equipment line items open, but concessions is very small and their line item only has 700. It's not going to get them through adult league. So I think as they do their orders, I can open new purchase orders when that time comes and move that money as needed versus saying, oh, we need 3,000 or so, and then they may need more and then, but council already approved, you know what I mean? So I think, since we're still trying to spend that down, that you just approved to allow them to spend that amount down at, between, like they pointed out, I think it was concessions and equipment. The other one for the coaches appreciation, the logistics of that, did they explain anything? Because they don't have a line item for that.
That's why when I was going through the notes and things, I'm like, have you requested that purchase order? Because it's not your concessions, it's not your equipment, it's your, so I said, I'll put in the request. She's gonna follow up she has a list of things to follow up with you. You can talk to her about it
Okay.
at that time.
Well, because that one, if they are going to do it, it needs an appropriation amendment and that's not going to be done in time.
Well, then, because where did Freddie and
That came from contractual services because they were contracted technically to come, yeah. This would be a meal, but on top of that, how are they, I just don't know if we can just check the credit card out and run up a tab up to $400 at a restaurant, you know what I mean? It'd have to be in the past, when they used to sell pizza out of the concession stand, they would just buy it, in bulk or whatever. I don't remember how it was sold. It was a long time ago. But something like that's a little bit harder to try and figure out coming from public funds. Even though it's their funds, it's still ran under the public
Just so I'm
umbrella.
clear, this is a lot to do with because the $3,000 uniform thing was an issue, right? And they could have,
that's all clarified. They
okay, but
understand.
their spend down is now increased because they couldn't technically do it, right? So now they have a bigger portion to spend down.
Right, they didn't get to spend that $3,000 out of.
And is our goal or their goal to have, obviously within the 501(c) license get finalized, to be off our books by the end of the year?
That is what has been discussed. So, I mean, we can't tell them explicitly,
Sure.
but that is the expectation. The expectation has been set. And the board is aware that, and they're working towards that. So that's kind of where they're coming from with this blanket, is just the ability to spend it. And it was recommended by Stephanie, so they discussed it. They're okay with it. They're bringing it here. So I don't know how a motion for that would go, because the details are still being discussed by you guys.
Yeah.
So
I
do we need to wait on that one then?
No, because they gotta still be able to purchase their concessions stuff. So I think your best bet is just allowing them to spend down the remaining amount. And then they can communicate with me what's concessions and what's equipment as they see. Like the equipment one specifically.
So I make a motion to allow them to spend down their village fund within their line items. So if it doesn't fall in a line item, then they should be paying for it out of their bank account.
Yeah, outside of that 7,000.
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to have them spend down to $7,358.97 within the line items that they currently have. We have a second.
A second.
Roll call. Mr. Warner,
Abstain.
Ms. Rupp,
Yes.
Mr. Myrtle,
Yes.
Ms. Husser,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Kukowski.
Yes.
On their pizza party that they want to have or whatever recognition, your suggestion of possibly buying it through the concession stand and holding it up.
I just don't know. I don't know how they would do it. I just,
I'm asking.
my thing is, I don't know if they can check the credit card out to go to Porky's and have this appreciation thing. I think the better thing would be is to
They-
purchase,
Do it out of their.
I was just.
they would probably
They
have
can do it
to,
out of their account.
yeah,
That's kind of what they've been, anything that is.
like an oddball type thing.
Here, it's been doing
I
out of
think
their.
that's where I was trying to clarify with that.
At that rate, we're never gonna spend it down.
This put a burden on the balance to not be able to spend it down as quickly.
Right, it put a
Right.
burden on their bank balance that
Mhm.
they weren't anticipating, and it was, I mean, $3,000 is a big chunk of money they were expecting to come out of this fund. So it's worked out. It's not gonna be a problem. It'll be fine. But yes, now they've got to come up with other ways to spend it.
And so that's why they were asking to use the $400 for that.
But if they're gonna run the concession stand through adult league,
Yeah.
judging by the purchases of concession stand stuff, I mean, they're gonna be able to get rid of quite a bit based on what they pinned by.
Which the youth league, that tournament runs through the 29th. They'll have one more all-star game. So youth league ends the end of June. Adult league goes through into November, but adult league is 1 day a week. Youth league, they're doing like 5 days a week right now.
Yeah.
So concessions costs are much higher right now. But they're doing well, so
Okay.
they can figure out. I'll just let, my mom's gonna get a hold of you.
Yeah, I was gonna say the,
Schematics.
we'll be able to figure out how to, but yeah, that 400, their tournament, or not their tournament, their appreciation thing. I would say it'll probably be less of a headache,
They just.
if they just took care of it. That way we don't have to try and figure out what's legal and what's, you know?
I would just explain that to her when she.
Yeah.
comes here. I mean, I can,
I'm pretty sure.
You just want to vote on it, just say that
I think you
you
should
vote
probably
to
vote.
say that council's not approving that to come out of that fund.
In order to save any issues.
We're voting on that we're not gonna allow. Okay.
I mean, I don't, this is my opinion, but they voted, we just passed a vote to stay within their budget and this doesn't qualify. So-
right, this doesn't fall. in
That's
that.
true, yeah.
So,
That's why I said it that way. So
Okay,
we don't have to reappropriate. We don't have to, like, it's all just, they stick within their stuff. Everything else then can go through there.
okay,
Another question for them. Have they used the lights down at the ballpark yet?
I haven't heard anything more about it. I can ask them. They haven't set their next meeting date yet either. They'll contact when they do. But they will have another meeting and I can ask them at their next meeting. It's all fixed, right?
Mhm.
Fixed. That's like-
I just wondered if they had anything scheduled for under the lights.
the light switch portion has, but the moving of the electricity has not been done yet.
Right.
I mean-
I'll ask if they've had any further issues with that, but I haven't heard that they.
I'm not asking if there's issues. I'm asking if they have used them at all.
Don't know. And they've had night games. I would assume. They've had night games,
I don't know. That's.
but I haven't been out there to know.
Okay. All right.
One more. I was contacted by Jared about their drag needing to go to the shop. So that needs to be approved for me to take it to the John Deere dealer to have them look at it and figure out what's going on with it.
This is.
That'll just come from their contractual services line items. That falls within that
But it
73.
needs to come to you guys so that way you guys can approve it so I can take it over there.
I can speak a little bit to this since it's coming up. They believe that that should come out of our line item and not theirs.
I thought,
Because we haven't transferred ownership.
No, we don't have to transfer ownership because
the village never purchased that.
Ball program.
Ball program
bought that piece
did.
of Machinery, so it's their piece of machinery, not the village's.
And even,
Me and Mike went and picked it up in Cleveland. So that is their piece of equipment, not ours. I don't know if they understand that or not, but that is not our.
And that's the questions. There are questions as far as kind of like when the truck at the cemetery and we discussed which line item does that actually come out of?
Right.
Whose budget does that actually come out of? This was a similar situation. They had questions because the facility maintenance agreement hasn't come through. And with that maintenance agreement, there will be an actual transfer of all equipment ownership to them. So this is where their question is coming from. Like, that hasn't happened yet. Should it be coming out of village?
Oh, so they want to do that before it gets agreed.
It's broke.
No, it hasn't been.
No, I'm
Keeps
just
dying
saying
all the
this.
time.
Yeah. So there was a question
Yeah,
for that, but if that is the answer, like the cemetery, which is, yes, it's still village owned, but it's village owned and maintained through this line item.
yeah, any other stuff with that, even the fuel comes from their fund.
Okay.
Not
I
ours.
just don't understand
So-
that and need that.
When
This is
the,
different than the lawnmower issue right, that you reported on, right?
no, it's.
It's the same thing.
It's not a mower, it's.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
so when the old board dissolved, was all of the assets given to the village?
I don't know.
No,
No.
I think so.
No, would have been kept with the program.
No, the only thing that was given to the village was the lawnmower,
and all the
the,
bills.
the old Kubota. And that was traded in to get the John Deere before the John Deere we have now, if I remember right. It was like right when I started here, when all that.
That was a lot of years ago.
So she will have questions about that, but I'll explain it whenever they have their next meeting, but you'll probably get to her before I do, just so you know
Yeah,
where that's coming from. I don't think they
so
understand.
yeah,
how our-
Harold, once I explain to them, we'll have to
Then there was
figure out.
conversation about the use of that because we had been using it for a walking path.
One time,
That was the beginning of the conversation of what assets went to what and
We have to make that list yet after, like, we're still in clearly their attorney has requested edits. So we're still in that process of editing that document. When we do that, it will become theirs. We will have no use of it. Like, we don't get to use it after that.
which I totally agree with.
Yeah, so.
All right. Upcoming meetings. Community Development and Public Affairs, 6/17 at 5:30. Safety, 6/23 at 6 PM. Public Works, 6/24 at 6 PM. Park and Rec, 7/2 at 5:30. Cemetery, 7/3 at 6. Community Development and Public Affairs again at 7/9.
That was the one that was moved.
Rescheduled.
Yep, that's why I put it in there early.
So while we're talking about those meetings, is there any way that we could consider keeping meetings scheduled on the days that they're scheduled if only one person's going to be missing from a committee? The reason I say that is I missed the administrative process meeting because it did get changed. And I had something that came up late on that, or I would have been here.
Right.
And I'm just saying that if if you have two people, that's a quorum. And we should be able to keep the meeting scheduled as is rather than trying to
Yeah, that's
finagle the.
why I asked what you guys wanted to do.
Right. No,
Could have went for-
I understood what you
Yeah,
said, but at the time, why, I didn't even know.
right, that you
Had
were.
that on Thursday and so boom,
Right.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why, you know,
that's why you schedule them.
you schedule them now, there's an issue, and then it's up to the people that are in the committee to talk it out. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if there's only gonna be one person missing, you should hold the meeting.
Yeah, and the reason I really even brought it up the way I did is because I chair that one. So if you guys wanted me, that's the reason I asked. Otherwise, as if I'm not a chair, I would have just said, hey, I'm not gonna make it. You guys are gonna go on without me. I already know that. So,
I understand the chair portion, but the chair presides over the meeting.
the second yeah, right. Yeah, the second
I
person.
thought we all agreed that we could move it. There was no problem.
Yeah, we did.
We did at the time, but like I said, something came up on Thursday.
I know, I mean.
Had it stayed,
But what happens
Had it
in life,
stayed on
that
Monday.
happens in life all the time. I mean, you can't help it.
old business, resolution for the Wood County Park Grant. This is a resolution to authorize the Village of the Weston to participate in the Wood County Park District Grant Program. This is be for the next upcoming year, right?
Yep, the deadline to submit is October. So, Parks and Rec will have to think of some ideas, and gather quotes and see what they want to submit to this grant. This is just the start of the process, is to pass a resolution to even participate. So
So we need a motion to pass the resolution to
it's
participate.
just a first reading.
Okay, first reading. I'm thinking of all the times before.
It doesn't say first reading. I can-
Well, I mean, just throwing it out there.
Right.
Well, no, I'm thinking the time has gone by so fast. Not so much the time, but the dates. I mean, you said October. I mean, my gosh,
It's like tomorrow.
it feels like we skipped over spring and now we're into summer. Okay. Guess we'll worry about that later. Everybody, had a chance to review the bills? And everybody has read the bills and signed all the documents.
so moved.
Need a motion.
It's easier when I was the last one, so I knew where to.
We just need a motion to approve the bills. We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. And we need an approval for the May bank reconciliation.
So moved.
They need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's not enough just to sign the thing.
No, you have to have you have to have it in the minutes, too. The signature part is only for documentation, but in the minutes,
This is a new.
a new thing from that conference I attended that they want.
Okay, so then the other one is the WSI
We
APO.
already did that.
But then we are already good with that. Nice. Okay. Now let's talk for approval for currently scheduled special events dates for Dora. Do we,
So the way that application was written up was for special events and not spelling out the special events, that those events would just have to come to council and get pre-approved. So since one of those dates, I believe, is coming up in July, I figured we
July the
would
19th.
have their dates already, that we should just get them all approved.
do we have all the dates besides the 19th?
They had, all the Parks and Rec events, or just those three,
Dora ones. Is that
I
the one?
think all the Parks and Rec events were planned
For Dora.
since they're all downtown.
When was the first event?
The first one is July, so we have July 19th, August 23rd, September 20th. That is the Weston Fun Day, anything with wheels show. October
That's
8th,
on 19th.
All of them are,
All
too.
of them are.
what?
Yeah,
All three of those are.
yeah, all three are.
What,
Yeah,
anything with wheels.
okay. I thought you said they're all on the 19th.
No,
I was like, wait, what?
They're all three.
All three of those are that. So then, October 18th is Fall Fest. October 25th is Monster Mash. But I don't know.
I don't
They
think
want
that's-
that one.
don't
I think they just want the Dora during the summer ones for now.
The summer ones for now. Okay. So those three, I guess we can address the other ones later because those are till October anyway.
They want it during Fall Fest or
Okay.
So,
So just July 19th, August 23rd and September 20th for
so we
now.
need a motion to approve the July 19th, August 23rd and September 20th Dora events.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Warner,
Yes.
Rupp.
Yes.
Mr. Myrtle.
Yes.
Ms. Husser. Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Kukowski.
yes.
All right, those passed.
I had one thing to miscellaneous with us.
Yeah, I guess.
Just thinking about this, I think that it should be publicly noted to thank Sue Clinton for introducing us to GLCAP,
Mm,
this council to it. Just could not be a pretty good relationship and partnership.
nice.
All right. I like Sue Clanton and what she's done for us and different events. He's also on our Board of Appeals or zoning committee.
Yeah.
So very nice person to deal with. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Visitors. Mr. Patel.
I like that answer.
All right.
Watch them pop back.
Yeah, we have a motion for adjournment. Do we have a second? All right. Okay.
Too late.